Hello, everybody. At our school, a questionnaire was conducted with parents and students in order to compare job offers and job opportunities in the 1980 with today. For this purpose, 13 parents aged between 36 and 53 years old and 79 students from 14 to 19 years old were surveyed. As we can see, both in relation to students and parents, the majority gender that answered our questions was the female gender. We started by asking parents if the place they lived at the beginning of their adult lives was the same as it's today. Mostly the answer was no. Which leads us to conclude that the needs of each person change over the years, causing the family context itself to change as well.
Here we ask, what job expectations did you have before starting to work? Basically, the answers were work in the area where they graduated, try to find a job that pays for expenses and personal stuff. One person said he had no specific expectations because he just wanted to finish his studies. Other people expected specific jobs like to be a mechanic, a social educator, or a primary school teacher. Was it difficult to find the first job? For 76.9% of people, it wasn't difficult to find a job, and 23.1% said that it was difficult to find a job, which means that maybe at that time, most of the people would take any kind of jobs to pay the bills, and then maybe they would find a better job for them. Here we ask people what their first job was, and we could see that probably some of these jobs weren't the ones that they dreamed of. For example, washing dishes in a restaurant might not be the best idea for a first job. The question here was, did your first job meet all your expectations all the time? As we can see, this graph clearly shows that most first jobs didn't meet people's expectations.
Here, people were asked about what first job were they expecting, and most of them wanted a job related to the studies they've done in university, like being a doctor, working at an airport, and etc. In this graphic, we can see the age that the people that participated in the survey started working with, and the majority of them started working at 18 or younger. That goes to show that back then, people needed work to earn money to maintain their lifestyle. Here, we asked the participants if they are still in the same job as they started, and a big percentage said no, which means that they found other jobs that are more or less related with what they wanted. Next, the contributors of this survey were asked if they wanted to seek higher education when they were 17, 18, which means they were asked if they wanted to go to university, which most of them said yes.
This graph shows that the majority of people who considered to take higher education were of their own choice. But some people were influenced by the family and others made the choice together. Regarding the influence of parents on children's choices, at the present time, the different responses were very close. 46.2% consider that parents have less influence on children descriptions. 30.8% admit that parents have more influence. And 23.1% think that parents have the same influence. 76.9% of people who responded to the survey were not afraid of not getting a job at the time, and only 23.1% had been afraid of not getting a job. Parents studied in the country where they were born, that is, none studied in a foreign country.
In this question, the parents separated themselves in two groups with the same amount, which leaves them divided when asked about studying abroad. Maybe because of the fact that it was harder than today to find a job or study in Europe at the time. Most of the parents said that at the time there were difficulties to study or work abroad due to monetary issues, not knowing how to speak a foreign language, and lack of information. The asked students think that it will be very likely to study abroad in the future, and only a percentage of 8.9% thinks that this is unlikely to happen. As you can see, most of the parents had no fears or overcome them by reaching their goals and dreams, which were to have a good job, family, and monetary possessions. Their hopes were to realize their dreams and establish themselves.
The majority of votes do not agree with the question, how much do you agree with the following statement? I would like to have a job that is profitable over a job I enjoy. And I think the reason the votes were against this issue was because, regardless of how much money a job can give us, if at the end of the day we do not appreciate our profession, it is not worth it. Most people prefer to be happy with the work they have and not to do something for the rest of their lives that they don't appreciate. Even so, there are situations in which people have no choice, if they don't do something they don't like, to be able to support themselves. So, in this matter, we can have several points of view, and all are correct. This question is very important because you can see how different people are from each other and what are the most important values for them in life. This specific question was asked to students, and the majority says that in first place is the family, in second the health, and in third the friendships. Success is in the third place, and these students mostly consider that before success they should have good social bases such as family and friendships, and in times of COVID, it will not make sense not to be healthy. There are many things that stress students, teachers, parents, and workers. And in this graph, what we can see as the biggest source of stress is the COVID and the teachers' school. COVID has implemented a constant fear and stress of knowing whether or not we are infected and whether we will be able to live our normal lives. And we are all suffering from it. So, it's understandable that students are being harmed by COVID just like the rest of the world. School has always been a source of stress, at least for me, and students are under great pressure on grades, on the goals they want for the future, and whether or not we will be able to get in the university we want. And as we see in the second chart, stress ends up affecting us in our school performance. I just think that this chart is very realistic and ends up being able to give us a perspective of the thoughts and the emotions that students go through. In this question, the answers were varied, and I think it turns out to be a bit subjective because it depends on what future everyone wants. It is normal for COVID to harm jobs, students, and workers' futures. The COVID opened many jobs as well as ended many jobs. But in times like this, we must remain positive.
Does your family situation affect your school success? To this question, the students answer 48.1% reply not at all. 22.8% reply that a little. 90% reply that not very much. 10.1% reply that a lot. Do you believe current politics will affect your future in a negative way? Many students answered that yes, a little, correspond to a percentage of 23.2, and with yes, a lot, 8.9%. These numbers are scary and lead to the less politically active population, as they end up giving up. Do you believe that gender prejudice will affect your career? Incredible, as 54% of students say that a lot or a little the career will be influenced by gender. The truth is this continues to happen in the middle of the 21st century. And it is up to each one of us to change this course. Is the European Union an important factor in your life? In conclusion, most people claim that European Union is in fact something important in their lives. And if the European Union doesn't not exist, maybe today we would not be here. But 8.9% say that European Union is not important.